But by and large, pay discrimination is the rule.
The conscience of white Australians was stirring, but ever so slowly. It would take 10 long years of gathering signatures, presenting petitions, lobbying politicians, before the referendum was held. But the campaign was having an effect. The media began to report inequality, segregation, racism.
There's an unwritten law that prohibits all Aborigines from sitting in this lounge, even if they're with a party of white customers. This unwritten law is rarely challenged, but one test case was decided here 3 months ago, when George Rose sat down at one of these tables.
My wife and I and a couple of white friends went in there, and I ordered a squash for my wife and a beer for myself, and was refused. Said that he could serve the 2 white persons that were with us, but would refuse to serve Mavis and I.
You know, and you said earlier about anger. You kick a dog 3 times, what's you in the 4th? He's going to bite. You know, people, Aboriginal people in the 60s started to say, we've had enough. That's it.
And this exasperation suddenly found expression in the famous Freedom Ride of 1965.
Good evening. This afternoon, a busload of university students leave Sydney for Walgett in the northwest of New South Wales. They plan on protesting there the segregation laws that affect Aborigines, both in Walgett and in other rural towns.
Off we went, in full ignorance of what was ahead of us, and not too much courage and not too much knowledge. But we thought, well, let's do it. And so we did it. And it was a great expose of conditions in New South Wales, in a number of places like Walgett and Brewarrina and so on, and Kempsey. But that was similar to what was happening right throughout Australia. I was threatened, I was going to get bashed up, I was punched in the back of the head, I had egg thrown down the back of my shirt, sand poured over my face and over the top of my head, and blokes and women too, pushed, shoved. There's a bottle flying through the air. But what it did for us as Aboriginal people is made us realise, hey, listen, we don't have to put up with this any longer. And it made us look at ourselves and examine our own position in Australian society and what are we going to do about it. The Freedom Ride made Australians realise that we've got a terrible situation in this country, let's do something about it. And they thought, by expressing their vote at the referendum in 1967, that was their contribution to it. So I think in political terms it was very significant.
The support of whites was important to the Aboriginal campaign, but it was limited and it didn't bring in much money. Funds were chronically scarce, and the burden of lobbying was carried by the blacks themselves, especially in the corridor.